There comes a night in every fighter's career when the illusion of invincibility finally cracks, when the cheers turn into uneasy murmurs, and when the world that once celebrated your rise suddenly questions your future. For Dakota Ditcheva, once the teenage prodigy who tore through every opponent placed in front of her, that night arrived on March 25th in Manchester. And it didn't arrive quietly. It came like a storm that swallowed her whole. A humiliation no highlight reel could erase. A disaster that would ultimately transform her into the fighter she is today. Before that night, Dakota didn't just win, she dismantled people. At only 17, she had already become one of the most feared young strikers in the United Kingdom. Tall, rangy, explosive, and disturbingly calm, even while throwing strikes that echoed through entire arenas. She radiated the confidence of someone who had never been pushed to the brink. Coaches raved about her. Promoters fought to sign her. Opponents avoided her. Dakota Ditcheva was the future, and everyone knew it. Her reputation was built on demolition jobs, like the now-famous destruction of Cat Payton. That fight never had a competitive moment. Dakota's kicks slammed into Payton's ribs with the force of a battering ram, each strike dropping her a little lower, stealing the air from her lungs, robbing her of the will to continue. The final sequence, a high kick paired with a straight right down the pipe, folded Payton onto the canvas in agony. The crowd exploded with the kind of roar reserved only for prodigies. It wasn't just dominance. It was an announcement. Dakota wasn't normal. Dakota was inevitable. So when Manchester prepared for her next homecoming, expectations reached an almost unfair level. Fans didn't come to see whether she would win. They came to see how violently she would do it. Dakota had become a spectacle. Manchester's own rising predator, a teenage star destined for global stardom. But this time, the person across the ring wasn't intimidated. She wasn't a stepping stone. She wasn't a sacrificial lamb. Amy Perry was a champion, a fighter forged in pressure and shaped by grit. Compact, powerful, and built to withstand storms, she held the WBC Muay Thai International flyweight title and had amassed 9 dominant wins. She was everything Dakota's previous opponents were not. She didn't fear the hype. She didn't fear the crowd. She didn't fear Dakota. She had come to break her. When the bell rang, the electricity changed instantly. Both fighters surged forward without hesitation, slashing at each other with blistering combinations. But within 30 seconds, something happened that no one in the arena had prepared themselves to witness. Dakota went down. Whether it was a sweep or a stumble barely mattered. The teenage superstar had hit the canvas. The commentary table fell silent. Entire rows of fans froze, their mouths half open, unable to process what they had just seen. For the first time in her career, Dakota Ditcheva looked mortal. Seconds later, Amy Perry eliminated any hope that the moment had been a fluke. Another sweep, another fall, another eruption of disbelief. Perry's pressure suffocated Dakota, crowding her, dragging her into clinches she couldn't escape, beating her to positions she normally dominated with ease. Dakota threw a spinning elbow, her signature flourish, but Perry didn't budge. She stood her ground, absorbed it, and fired back. Dakota went down again, and again, and again, 4 times in one round. By the end of those 3 minutes, Dakota's aura of invincibility had evaporated. She didn't look like a generational prospect. She looked lost, and the home audience, who had come expecting a slaughter in her favor, watched in stunned silence. Round 2 only deepened the disaster. Dakota tried to rebuild control with teeps and long jabs, but Perry had solved her rhythm. Every kick was countered by a step in. Every attempt at space was crushed under Perry's forward march. The clinches became a battleground Dakota couldn't win. Her long limbs, usually a weapon, turned into liabilities. Perry yanked her off balance repeatedly. Dakota fell hard, awkward, frustrated. Her mother yelled from the corner. The crowd groaned, and Dakota's eyes, those usually so calm, now flickered with panic. She wasn't hurt physically. She was trapped mentally, unraveling inside a fight she no longer understood. Round 3 erupted into pure chaos. Dakota fought like a woman refusing to drown. swinging with desperation and fury. But every strike she landed, Perry answered with equal intensity. Every attempt at momentum was halted by another sweep or a knee that dug deep into Dakota's ribs. The pace became a high-speed collision between two fighters with too much pride to back down. And then, somewhere in a madness, Dakota began to change. Her footwork sharpened. Her timing improved. She started solving Perry's pressure puzzle one tiny piece at a time. She wasn't winning the round, but for the first time all night, she wasn't drowning. She was adapting, learning, growing inside the fire. If round 3 planted the seeds of a comeback, round 4 set it ablaze. Dakota came out transformed. Her strikes carried more conviction. Her movement had purpose. And then she landed the shot that shook the entire arena. A perfect right hand detonated against Perry's jaw, sending the champion crashing to the canvas. Manchester lost its mind. The eruption was deafening, a crowd rediscovering hope all at once. For a brief moment, the comeback felt complete. Dakota stalked forward, smelling blood. She unleashed a barrage of elbows, body kicks, punches, every weapon she had at her arsenal, trying to snatch victory back from the disaster that had swallowed the first half of the fight. But Perry refused to break. She rose, steadied herself, and fired back with iron resolve. The round became a war inside a hurricane, neither fighter giving ground, both burning themselves alive to keep the momentum. By the end of it, Dakota had revived the arena, revived her confidence, and revived the fight. But the damage from earlier still loomed. Everything would come down to round 5. The final round began like the crescendo of a movie. No hesitation, no retreat. Both women stepped to the center and threw themselves into the fire. Dakota opened with heavy right hands and violent spinning elbows, swinging with the kind of desperation only fighters who've tasted humiliation understand. Perry absorbed the onslaught with terrifying durability. Knees collided with ribs. Elbows whistled past foreheads. Hooks cracked across jawlines. They traded strike for strike, heart for heart, willpower for willpower. It was the kind of round that leaves both fighters changed forever, win or lose. When the final bell rang, Dakota dropped her shoulders and exhaled, not defeated but emptied. She had poured everything into the last 2 rounds. But fights are not judged on spirit. They are judged on domination. And Amy Perry had dominated the opening storm so completely that the outcome was already etched in stone. The decision was announced. The red corner, Amy Perry. And just like that, Dakota Ditcheva suffered the worst night of her young career. A night that could have destroyed her confidence, derailed her potential, or haunted her for years. Instead, she chose a different path. Rather than hide from the loss, Dakota walked straight through it. She left Muay Thai behind and stepped into the unforgiving chaos of mixed martial arts. And surprisingly, everything she learned in that painful night prepared her perfectly. Against Levi Steedman, she remained composed under pressure, used brutal knees, improved grappling, and suffocating violence to dominate. Against Shauna Bannon, the future UFC talent, Dakota dismantled her with precision, smashing her legs, controlling the clinch, and even neutralizing her on the ground. That performance earned her her first MMA title. And the truth is undeniable. Without the humiliation at the hands of Amy Perry, without the sweeps, without the knockdowns, without the uncertainty and panic, Dakota Ditcheva would not have become the MMA destroyer emerging today. That night didn't shatter her. It reforged her. Every great fighter has a moment that defines them. For Dakota Ditcheva, it wasn't a triumph. It was a collapse that rebuilt her from the inside out. Now one question remains. If Dakota and Amy Perry fought today, with Dakota reborn and evolved, who walks out victorious? Tell us what you think in the comments. And if you enjoyed deep dive breakdowns into the fights that shape legends, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.